Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for being here. For today's practice, we will need uh, well, actually, I don't know if we need the blanket, but you might like to have the blanket to pad the knees here. I will be using a block and a couple of poses to help support and create a little bit of space in my hips and my back. And I'm going to be using a chair, but you could be using a wall. It could be a countertop. We'll be leaning against it or kind of placing our hands and doing this version of a standing down dog with it. So if you're near a wall or a door or door frame, that might work just as well. You don't have to bring a chair over for our purposes today. And we're going to be talking and working through and feeling in our bodies what happens when we overengage these muscles that run between the neck and the shoulders. And they're called the upper trapezius muscles. And I think a lot of us in our everyday life overengage these muscles for different reasons. It could have to do with posture or things that we're doing at our workstations. And it could have to do with our nervous systems. This is sort of a position that demonstrates stress, tension, worry, fear. And there could be lots of reasons for that happening. So we'll be doing some poses to release the tension in the muscles, to gently stretch, move some of the nerves that are embedded in this area around the chest, neck, and shoulders, as well as relate how to release the tension in those muscles in the form of or in the phases of the stroke as we go. And remember that if anything is uncomfortable or painful, those are reasons to change the practice, make this work better for you. Feel free to modify and rest at any time during the practice. We're going to start in a child's or puppy pose. And if neither of those poses work for you, you could also start in a face down position. I'm going to use my blanket here to pad my knees. And if you know where we're going, you might just take a look here to see where we're going with our arm position. So child's pose is hips over heels, forehead resting down. And instead of stretching and reaching forward with your arms, let the elbows bend and either stack the hands forward of the top of the head or perhaps underneath the forehead here. Child's pose is a lovely pose, but if you are working with low bone density, herniated disc, maybe hip or knee issues, then a safer pose would be puppy, which I'm demonstrating here. Same thing, but hips over knees instead of heels. And I'd like you to come into that same arm position, either place. If neither of these work for you, you could be just belly down, hands under the forehead. If you're in that puppy, make sure you're not shifted forward here. Have the weight come more towards your hips a little bit. Take a few breaths. So in this arm position, we've released tension in the muscles that run between the neck and shoulders. And by tension, I mean there's no stretch, and there's also hopefully no contraction or tensing of those muscles. And you might even reach back there and kind of squeeze those muscles that run between the neck and shoulders and see if they're a little bit softer than they would normally be. So this position, I'll show you one at the end of the practice as well, is like the off switch for those muscles. So relaxing, releasing the tension there. Take a few more breaths. Slowing down your breathing, lengthening out both the inhale and the exhale. Setting an intention for your practice. Thinking of the reason that you've shown up today. Is it about letting go of tension? Is it about finding ease? Is it about feeling stronger? Is it about reconnecting the mind and body? Bring this thought to the front of your mind and breathe with intention. So as you're ready, making your way up to hands and knees, knees under hips, wrists under shoulders for tabletop. Remember, you have a few options here. You could be on loose fist instead of flat palms, or on your forearms, especially if that weight bearing and that 90-degree angle at the wrist doesn't work for your body. Warming up the spine with some cat and cow. So we round through the back, tuck the tailbone, tuck the chin under, and then we lift the hips, belly towards the floor, chest forward. Exhale, we round through the back, pushing the floor away. Inhale, hips up, chest forward. Back and forth between those two. Moving in a comfortable range of motion here for you. And perhaps the continual movement feels good. Maybe you add some other movements in, a circling of the hips, a shifting back, a shifting forward. Maybe you pause in a position and hold a stretch for a few breaths. So giving you a moment here to kind of freestyle it from your hands and knees. Lots of different options, and they don't have to be a yoga pose or a movement that feels familiar or like you should do it. It's what your body is requesting here. And eventually making your way back into that tabletop position. This time we'll bring our knees out a little wider than the hips. And I'm bringing one hand behind the head and raising that elbow up towards the ceiling and then crossing this elbow towards the opposite wrist. You could bend that supporting arm a little bit. We unwind, inhaling elbow up, and then as we exhale, elbow towards the wrist. And we'll do a couple more. Starting to warm up here through the mid and upper back. And when you get more movement in that mid and upper back, often the muscles between the neck and shoulders relax and release because they're not trying to negotiate movement here from an external source. Lower that hand down and switch sides. Hand behind the head. Inhale, elbow up. Exhale, cross it over. We'll do 3 or so more. Moving in whatever range of motion you comfortably have as opposed to trying to force or push. And we'll lower the hand back down here, coming back into that tabletop so the knees underneath the hips a little bit more. We'll tuck our toes here. Mindful of if you have stiff toes or knees, you may not be moving as much, you're not shifting as much. I'm pushing my hips towards my heels, and then I bring it back into the tabletop. So exhale, shifting back. Inhaling, shifting forward. And for me, this pose is about opening here through the soles of my feet, getting a little bit more bend in my knees, but you might feel it here in the back or the buttocks, stretching, maybe even in the shoulders. You could keep it right here, the shifting back, shifting forward, or a bigger stretch through the lower body would be to shift back and then briefly come into down dog. So hips up, heels release towards the floor, head hangs down, and then we lower the knees, shift forward. So you could keep it with the knees grounded or in that brief down dog movement here. I'm going to come into that down dog and I'm going to pause, but you might continue to move. If you're pausing in that down dog here, adjust. Feet hip distance apart and shoulder distance apart. If you're tight through the backs of the legs, bend the knees a little bit. Push your hips up and back more. And maybe take a moment to pedal the feet or continue the movement of lifting and lowering the heels. And looking forward here, we'll step the left foot between the hands. And it might not get there on the first go round, so you could lower that right knee, let that left hand help it come forward. We're all going to lower the back knee here and rise up into this upright position of the lunge. So tailbone lengthens down towards the earth and the top of the head is reaching up here towards the sky. So I find more Lengthen my spine. And we'll bring the hands behind the head here, interlacing the fingers, gently pushing the elbows back. And see, I'm going to turn so you can see me here from the back. If you push those elbows back and the shoulders rolled up, keep the clasp of the fingers and the elbows back, but release the shoulders away from the ears. So you're teaching those muscles how to let go when we don't need them here to come on board. We'll keep this position with the hands, but we're reaching our right elbow up towards the ceiling. So you lengthen through the right side, and then you bring it back into center. Stay on this side. So we inhale, right elbow up, lengthening from the right knee to elbow, exhaling it to center. A couple more here as we open through that right side body. You might feel some hip flexor lengthening, lats stretching, obliques opening, bringing it back into center. And then we're going to release both hands down around that front foot and step this back into a plank. We'll lower both knees and lower all the way down to the ground. Can you hold your core like plank as you slowly lower all the way to the floor? Coming into a low cobra, which for some of us is a lesson in how to turn off these muscles between the neck and shoulders and turn on the opposing muscle groups. So hands under shoulders, pull the shoulder blades towards the spine, and then pull the bottom tips of the shoulder blades towards the back waist, so that the pulling backward and downward of the shoulder blades peels the head and chest up off the floor with the neck long, as opposed to the shoulders hunched here. You could stay there for breath, or maybe you rise up, but notice that the shoulders hunch up, pull them back and down so the neck is long. And then we're tucking your toes, making our way to down dog, maybe directly there, or go through hands and knees as we did, hips towards the heels. Raising the hips up into that down dog. Take a few more breaths here, pedaling the knees or lifting the hips or wagging the tail, shake the head. A few options. Looking forward, we're stepping the right foot between the hands. If it needs some help, guide it there with the right hand. Lower the back knee. Find yourself into that upright position, maybe using a wall or the leg to help you balance. Tailbone down, the top of the head is reaching up. Interlacing the fingers behind the head, push the elbows back. Now feel, did those shoulder blades ride towards the ears? Keep the clasp of the fingers. See if that kind of holding together allows you to release the muscles between the neck and shoulders. So the neck feels longer here. All right, keep the length in the spine. We inhale the left elbow up, and then exhale, come to the middle to center. Inhale, reach up through that left side, left knee to left heel, opening, exhale, center. A couple more. So it's more of that finding length in the left side than it is collapsing through the right. All right, we'll bring it back to center. Bring both hands down to the floor, and we're stepping the back foot to the front foot. Find a forward fold here. Ragdoll is the knees bent, upper body draped over. But again, if you are working with low bone density in the spine, a herniated disc, or you're just really tight here, then do feet wide butt back forearms on your thighs. A couple of options to kind of release tension in the muscles between the neck and shoulders here. If you're in the forearm on thighs position, press your arms into the legs and find more length in your neck. So that's engaging opposite muscle groups. If you're in the ragdoll, let the top of the head hang down, hold the elbows. Now we're in that off switch position for the muscles between the neck and shoulders. Either pose, you could sway a little bit. Bend the knees, bring your weight back to center, look forward, inhale, rise up to stand. Once you're up, just roll the shoulders back and down gently. You don't have to pinch them together tight. Just opening that chest, broadening through the collarbones. And then once we're up, you might move that blanket out of the way, and we're going to come into a standing down dog. I'm going to use the back of my chair, but that's so that you can see me here from the profile, the side view. You could use the back of the chair. You could be using a wall here. The wall or a countertop is actually better height than what I have. If you're at the wall, you're going to place your hands at shoulder width and shoulder height, and then you're walking your feet back. I'm placing my hands here on the back of the chair and then walking my feet back. I'm hinging at the hips. So think of what the down dog looks like with the hands on the floor. We're kind of creating the same angle, but we've just kind of changed our orientation towards the earth. So I'm a little tight in my hamstring, so I got to bend my knees a little bit to take some of the stretch out of it. And then from here, I'm pushing one hip back as I bend the other knee. And then I switch, push the other hip back, bend the opposite knee. And do that a few times here, side to side. Notice how you're just tipping the pelvis, lengthening to the side waist, but you're not opening through the rib cage. You're opening, lengthening through the side waist just by pushing one hip, or really that side of the pelvis, towards the back of the room. So if we can master this movement in upright position, if we can master this movement in the boat, we don't have to try to stabilize the boat with our neck and shoulders, which is not a very efficient way of doing it. So we'll bring this back to center, bend the knees, come on up, shake out the hips a little bit. So we're going to practice that movement in a little bit more of an upright position from a chair pose. I just used a chair, but now we're going into chair pose. So feet are about hip distance apart. So they're kind of just underneath you a little bit more. And we're coming down into a bent knee, bent hip position. And I'm just turning here so you can see me from the side. So I'm not folded all the way forward. My chest is up. My gaze is forward. And then I'm going to bring my hands here to my bottom ribs because I want my rib cage to stay in the same place. And do that similar motion where we pushed one hip back and the opposite knee forward. And then we switch. So instead of rotating the ribs, keep the ribs facing forward and do this small little movement of pushing one hip back and then the other without rotating the rib cage. Gaze stays forward, chest stay forward. Breathe. So this is one way of controlling the tilt of the boat here without engaging through the upper body or the neck and shoulders. All right, bring it back to center, come up, release your arms, shake out your hips, let it go. So that was a sort of forward, backward motion of the pelvis, of the hips. Now we're going to do a little side to side. So I'm going to turn so you can see me here from the front. Coming back into that chair pose. You don't have to go deep because we're kind of holding it, so you don't have to make your legs get tired. I'm bringing my hands here to the lower ribs because I don't want them twisting or tipping side to side. They're going to stay relatively stable here. And I'm going to lift one hip up. So I'm going to bring the outer hip towards my armpit. Maybe you come up on the tiptoe of that foot and then lower it down. The other side, lift the side of the hip towards the rib and then lower back down. But so my ribs are not going down to meet that lifting hip. They're staying stable, and my pelvis is rocking here side to side. Make sure you're breathing, right? So this is you controlling that lateral rocking of the boat without shrugging up through the shoulders, hopefully. All right, come on up, shake it out, roll those shoulders here again. Inhale, get tall, reach your arms up. On your exhale, find that forward fold. So it could be the forearms to the thighs, long through the neck, or it could be that ragdoll folded over, maybe holding elbows, shaking the head. Take a few breaths. We'll bring the hands down here And then make your way into a seated position. And we're sitting here with our legs out in front of us. If your hamstrings are tight and you tend to sit in this sort of rounded position here with the lower back, you might actually want to come up and sit in a chair to do this. So this is a hip walking movement. It's similar to what we were just doing in standing, but we're actually going to be, I'm saying hip walking, but it's also kind of like butt cheek walking here. I want you to try to keep your ribs in the same spot so we're not tipping over side to side here with the upper body. So holding on to the lower ribs, but relaxing the shoulders away from the ears. We're going to lift one butt cheek up, walk it forward. Lift the other butt cheek up, walk it forward. So I'm just walking the butt forward here, one cheek at a time, turning to face you. If you're in the chair, you're not going to be able to go very far. And then start walking it backwards. So we're using core, you're using some hip muscles here. And if you're struggling, you might have a little bend to the knees, and then the same motion, going forward and backward, trying to keep the hips relatively stable. It's actually easier for me with my legs straight. One more time. All right, leaning back on the hands here. You bend the knees, bring the feet like a little wider than shoulder distance apart, and just gently rocking the knees side to side. So there we're engaging the core, muscles around the pelvis, as opposed to trying our neck muscles, shoulder muscles over engaging. They're trying to mimic that steadying of the boat with the hips, the pelvis, the core. Bring this back into center here. I'm coming into a seated position, using my blanket to elevate my hips so that I can sit tall in this cross-legged position. If you struggle to sit up tall on the floor, for the next two, I'd rather you do them sitting on a chair. So sitting kind of perched on the front edge of the chair or the couch so you can sit up tall without the back rounding or without having to work really hard to be in that tall position. So sometimes as the shoulders come up, if you tend to hold tension there, or if your stroke is training your body to hold tension in those muscles, whether it's with the pulling or you're trying to stabilize the boat with the neck and shoulders here, it can also compress some nerves that run from the neck through the chest down to the arm. So we're going to do a nerve glide technique here. And this is for the ulnar nerve. This nerve innervates, or it gives sensation to the area of the upper arm, kind of near the tricep a little bit, down the inner elbow, all the way down to the pinky. So a nerve glide is where we give a little tiny tug to the end of the nerve and then release, we tug and release. So this one is interesting. We're going to make the OK symbol here with one hand. So index and thumb together. And we're tipping these fingers back towards the face. And you might start to feel a little pull or tug down that forearm to the pinky. And then we let that go. The hand comes down. We keep the OK symbol. We pull the fingers back so elbows bend, fingers towards the face, and then we let it go. You could keep it if you're like, okay, this is about as much as my brain can handle right now. If you'd like a little bit more with this, as the fingers come towards your face, you tip the head towards that side. As the fingers go away, you tip your head away. Fingers towards the face, head towards that side. Fingers away, head away. Keep those shoulders relaxed. And breathe. We'll let that go here. Shake out the arm. Take a little jig of the shoulders. And then we'll do that on the other side. That'll be different. So, OK symbol here. Tip the fingers back towards your face. Boy, I feel it more on the side for me. And then I let the fingers come away. So fingers back towards the face, and then let that OK symbol go away. You could add the head here, but you don't have to if it gets too confusing. Fingers towards you, head towards that side. Fingers away, head away. Fingers and head towards each other, and then fingers away, head away. Just make sure you're breathing here, and the shoulders aren't riding up towards your ears, so keeping them relaxed. Just going for a little sensation of tug or pull down the arm as opposed to intense. One more here, and then we'll let that go. Shake out the arms, roll the shoulders, letting that go. And then we're going to come on to our backs here. And it might feel good from here just to pull the knees in here, gently rocking a little side to side. We're coming up into a bridge pose. If you'd like a more supported bridge, you could always use a block here to place underneath your hips and come into something that's more restive, restorative, recovery type position. If you'd like that active bridge, line the heels up with your sitting bones. They don't have to be touching, but so that your ankles are underneath the knees. Let's have the arms down by the sides. Lift your hips and your lower back up off the floor. Once you're up, so this again is to not allow those shoulders to pull towards the ears and start to use some of the opposing muscle groups. We'll shift your weight towards one shoulder as you tuck the other shoulder blade in closer to the spine. Shift towards the other shoulder, tuck the other shoulder blade in under closer to the spine. And then you're either in this position with the thumbs up or interlaced fingers underneath you. Whatever you have, press your arms into the floor and you're reaching fingers towards the feet. So instead of the knees shifting towards your toes, push the hands without actually sliding them on the floor towards your feet, and you'll feel more length happening in your neck and the shoulders pull away from your ears. Take a few breaths here. So now we're engaging through some of the lower trapezius muscles, as well as lots of other things on the back of your body, but these are the ones that pull the shoulders down. So get you out of that hunched shoulder position, but also they're really important stabilizing muscles for the shoulders, and they're really important pulling muscles that can help engage in your stroke. We'll pull the shoulder blades out from underneath you, coming down onto your back. Once you're down, maybe you do a few windshield wiper motions here, rocking the knees side to side. Pulling the knees in towards you here, maybe rocking there side to side. Keeping the knees pulled in towards you, bring your arms out to the sides, palms up, and drop both legs over towards one side for this reclined twist. Now, I'm keeping it simple here, but there's lots of options that you could take, maybe crossing the legs or using props here, but you don't have to stay in that little ball. You could let the legs sort of slide away a little bit. Gaze towards the ceiling or head turned away from you, or away from your legs rather. Make sure you have your palms facing up here. If you have your palms facing down, it pulls the shoulder blades up and forward, which doesn't open through the chest and also engages, it sort of inadvertently engages the muscles between the neck and the shoulders. And we're trying to teach them to not engage. So unlike lots of other poses and moves we do in here where we're trying to tap into a muscle and make it engage and strengthen it and have it work during certain phases of the stroke or certain movements, the skill is getting these muscles to let go. The skill is not engaging those muscles when others should be doing the work. Use your abs, pull your knees in towards you, Maybe rock a little side to side in the center and then drop your legs over to the other side using any props you'd like, changing the variation of this reclined twist. The legs could straighten a little bit here. Gaze towards the ceiling, or if it's okay, gently turning the head away from the legs. And this will help the back of that shoulder release towards the floor. Use your abs, pull the knees up through center, coming onto your back. Maybe you do a few uh, hip circles here, or you find a happy baby, or perhaps there's something you'd like to do before your Shavasana pose. Feel free to add it in. I'm going to set us up in a position, again, to release tension between the neck and shoulders, those upper trapezius muscles. I'm going to use my 2 yoga blocks here. This could also be 2 pillows. Sometimes I'll use a rolled blanket here on top of this. But basically, I'm forming a little roof over my head. So it'll be like this on the floor. And so those are going to be sort of perches for my shoulder, or my arms rather. So my head is underneath there. And then my arms are coming overhead in this sort of diamond shape. So the elbow is bent and out to the sides, palms facing up. And hopefully my blocks are in a good position, but you might need to adjust them here. So this is the same position with the arms that we did when we started the class in that child's or puppy pose, but we were just flipped over, right? So this is a sort of child's or puppy pose turned over as if we were a pancake and we got flipped over to the second side to cook. And here, this pose, this position of the arms is designed to release the tension between neck and shoulders. If you have limitation in shoulder movements, if your chest muscles and fascia are tight, you might need more elevation under your shoulders. You might need to come out to the sides more into like a cactus arm position. As you're ready, take an inhale through the nose. Open the mouth, let out a sigh. Do that again. Let the breath go. Allow the body this opportunity to rest, and specifically these muscles between the neck and shoulders. Make any adjustments you need to here to get comfortable. Remembering that each exhale is an opportunity to relax a little bit more and release the tension in your muscles. Maybe you come up with an image of muscles melting, softening, letting go. Whatever image or word helps you to release a little bit more tension. Rest for the next couple of minutes. Remember that you could continue resting more, but if you're ready to move on, start to deepen your breath. Bring in some gentle movements to the body, at the hands, the feet, turning the head. Maybe a full body stretch, arms overhead, legs out. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, let it go. Bend the knees, roll to your side. Pause for a moment here on your side. Appreciating your body, your breath, your health, your yoga practice. Press up to a seated position. Thank you all for being here, for sharing your practice.